Testimony and being here tonight. And my story really begins with my parents. My father was born in Eastern Europe, in Romania, in 1905. My mother was born in Eastern Europe. At that time, the country was called Czechoslovakia. And she was born there in 1915. So my parents were 10 years difference in age. And they were both very religious Orthodox Jews. So the Orthodox Jews are the strictest Jews that really seek to follow the Torah. The Torah is the 5 books of Moses, the Pentateuch. And they really seek to follow all the laws that God gave to the Jewish people through Moses. My parents left Europe in 1940, and they left because of one reason: Adolf Hitler and the Nazis. In 1940, my father was 35, my mother was 25. If they would have stayed in Europe, they would have ended up in a concentration camp and be murdered, or they would have ended up in a labor camp and worked, and if once you got sick, they shot you and killed you because they had no time for you to get better. Everybody from their town that stayed died. So my parents left. 11 months after my father left Romania, the Nazis came to his town. They gathered all the Jews in that region. There were 10,000 Jews. And systematically over the next few weeks, they killed all 10,000 Jews. 2 of them were my grandparents, my father's parents. He also had a sister that was taken to a concentration camp, and they never heard from her again. So, like a lot of Jews, my parents had to get out of Europe. And like a lot of Jews, they went to South America. There were countries in South America that had an immigration open, filling out paperwork that they would welcome Jews. And one of the countries was a small country called Ecuador, Quito, Ecuador. Quito is the capital. So my parents from 1940 to 1950 lived right on the equator in Ecuador. My brother was born there. My sister was born there. My mother was pregnant with me. And in the spring of 1950, my father filled out paperwork because he wanted to bring his family to the United States. He got permission. They came through New York City, and I was born 5 months later in October of 1950. And as you can imagine, I was raised in a very, very religious Jewish home. My parents did send me to public school during the day, and then I went to school in the synagogue, and it was called Hebrew school. And Hebrew school, you learn Hebrew, because the Old Testament's written in Hebrew. You go to Israel, you speak Hebrew, so I learned Hebrew. I don't know about being Jewish. I literally learned hundreds and hundreds of prayers. And I went to Hebrew school 5 days a week for 8 years. I can't tell you how important this was. My grandparents died for being Jewish. My parents suffered for being Jewish. And I was identified with everything with my Jewish heritage. This was not a 2-week course. This was my dedication of life. I was Jewish. All my friends were Jewish. All my relatives were Jewish. I started Hebrew school, as I said, when I was 8 until I was 16, so all those years of growing up had a very big impact on me. I remember I'd wake up in the morning, I'd pray for half an hour in Hebrew, and then I went to school and something unusual happened. It sounds funny now, don't laugh. It was not funny at the time. But as I was growing older, 11, 12 years old, 13, I began to develop a very foul mouth. I could curse very easily. I could lie to my teachers very easily. I could lie to my parents. I was very religious in the synagogue, and these prayers meant a lot to me. I mean, this was important to me. And I remember consciously realizing something. I realized it was easy to act religious. It was easy to act religious. And then an hour later, I'm swearing and cursing and lying, and that was easy. It was easy to be religious when I had to, and it was easy for me to be a sinner when I wanted to. Sadly, I was good at both. Sadly. Then when I was 17, I went to a famous music school in New York City, the Juilliard School of Music. I was there for 5 years and got a bachelor's and a master's in piano. And there I met 3 students who called themselves born-again Christians. Well, I had no idea what that meant. But there was something about these students that was quite unusual. I'd see one of them having a sandwich in the cafeteria at lunchtime. I'd see another one taking a break from practicing, just taking a break in the hallway. And every time I saw these students individually, they were always reading the Bible. The Bible. I mean, this was not a school of religion, it was a school of music. And these were highly respected students, very highly talented students. And whenever they got together, all they did was talk about Jesus. Jesus did this, and Jesus said this. What did Jesus mean when he said this? Why did Jesus do this? They never mentioned what church they were in. They never mentioned the C word, Christianity. It was always Jesus, and Jesus, and Jesus, and Jesus, and Jesus, in Hebrew, Yeshua. Well, they heard I was a religious Jew, and they began to talk to me. And they basically asked me two questions. They asked me if I ever read the New Testament. And I told them, nope, not a word. I was told the New Testament was not a Jewish book. I said, you never find a New Testament in our home, so I had no idea what was in it. I never saw one, I never read one, I never touched one, zero knowledge, nothing. They asked me if I thought if Jesus could be the Messiah. The Jews are waiting for the Messiah. In Hebrew, it's called Mashiach. There are prophecies all about the coming of Messiah. And I said, no, Jesus is not the salvation for Jewish people. But I was very moral. You know, I didn't want to do anything to embarrass or shame my parents. My parents almost died for me, literally. I didn't want to shame them. They sacrificed for me. So I never drank alcohol. To this day, I don't know what a beer tastes like. Never been drunk. Never took drugs. I lived in New York City from 1968 to 1973. That was the height of the Vietnam War and the hippie movement. And I lived and worked in an apartment at 71st Street and Broadway. So 71st Street and Broadway in Manhattan is known as Uptown. And let me tell you something. It's not what drugs you wanted, it's how much drugs you wanted. I never took anything. Never had premarital sex. So even though I was so moral on the outside, no sex, no drugs, no drinking, my friend, I'm going to tell you, I was very, very, very immoral. Immoral. You know where? Right here. I knew that I was not on the inside the way I could appear on the outside. I could do many Jewish things, but it never affected me on the inside. I was very moral. I was very religious, but not changed. I was the same foul-mouthed, dirty-minded, self-centered, egotistical person at 20, at 18, at 16, at 14. Nothing changed about me except I was getting older. I had the same issues, the same situations, the same sins. So I made a big decision. I said, well, if I want to know about this person, Jesus Christ, I'm going to read this book, the New Testament. Now that was a big step for a Jew, to read the New Testament. And I said to myself, I don't want to talk to a rabbi or a priest or a minister. I don't want anyone to tell me what I'm reading. I'm going to read this book myself. Now, when I was a student at Juilliard, I used to practice for 10 hours a day. So let me tell you, that's not a lie, and that's not an exaggeration. I did not sit at the piano for 9 hours and 45 minutes. I sat every day at the piano for 10 full hours. I never left Juilliard until I read or practiced for 10 hours a day. I started to read the New Testament, and my whole life came to a stop. Now, these friends gave me a small New Testament. It was called a pocket New Testament, okay. And they said, well, if you read it, start in this book place called the Gospel of John. So I looked, oh, there it is, the Gospel of John. So here I start reading this book, the Gospel of John. And my whole life came to a stop. I was absolutely shocked when I read this book. You know what shocked me? Here was a man, Jesus, who said of himself, I am the light of the world. Wow, are you kidding me? You know to a Jew what that means? Only one person said that they were light, and that was God in Genesis 1. God said, let there be light. And Jesus said, I am the light. Here's a man who said of himself, I am the bread of life. You know what that means to a Jew? Well, God gave food, bread to my people in the wilderness. And he said, I'm the bread. Here's a man who said of himself, "No person comes to God, my Father, except through me. He who has the Son of God has life, and he who does not have the Son of God does not have life." Well, you know, we're in a beautiful church here. Let me tell you what I said to myself. I said, this is beyond the pale. Moses never said he was the light of the world. Abraham, the father of the Jewish people, never said he was the light of the world. I was shocked at what Jesus kept saying about himself. So I said, this man's a lunatic. This is an egomaniac. I'm going to throw away this book. I remember there was a garbage can. I'm going to throw away the book. I'm going to go practice. I had practiced for a week. And then I said to myself at that moment, if this person Jesus is who he says he is, let me repeat that again. If this person Jesus is who he says he is, Jesus, who are you? You want to know who I am, Sam? I am the light of this world. You know, I may be making the biggest mistake of my life throwing this book away. I said to myself, I better listen to this person. And then Jesus said he came for sinners. I was not a sinner. I was very moral. I was very religious. I spent my whole life looking good for God. I was on God's side. But Jesus said he came to bring forgiveness, and he said he came to change us on the inside. He called it a new heart, a new birth, a new life, a spiritual heart, a spiritual birth, a spiritual life. So I've played concerts in 61 different countries. You name a country, I've been in. I've played well over a dozen countries in Asia, all through Europe, Northern Europe, Eastern Europe, Southern Europe, all through South America. I've been to Cuba twice. I went to Cuba when you couldn't get to Cuba. I've been to Haiti. And let me tell you what I've learned. My friend, it doesn't matter what your skin color is. It does not matter what your skin color is. It doesn't matter, my friend, if you're a Christian or a Hindu or a Buddhist or a Muslim. No difference. It doesn't matter if you're a Democrat, Republican, Labor Party, this party, whatever. No difference. It doesn't matter what language you speak. It doesn't matter what culture you're from, because I'm telling you this reality. 61 countries. Everybody in this world, 7.5 billion people, and everybody in this room, we are experts at hiding things. We have made this little instrument, we have made lying into an art. You can hide things from your husband, you can hide things from your wife, you can hide things from your parents, you can hide things from your children, you can hide things from a church, you can hide things from someone at work, but nobody, that means everybody, nobody hides anything from Jesus Christ. Nobody. In fact, Jesus himself said, every word that you said, you'll give an answer for it. And what you said in the secret, is going to be shouted from the housetop. And even though I was so moral and I was so religious, listen to me carefully, I thought I was clever enough with my tongue and I was crafty enough with my mind that I thought I could hide things from people and God. Nobody could do it like Sam Rotman. Tragically. And on May 21st, 1971, 50 years ago, this past May, for the first time I prayed to Jesus Christ, and I'm going to tell you what I told him. My name is Sam Rotman, and Jesus, I want you to take over my life. It's very simple. I want you to tell me what to do, and I will not tell you what to do. I told Jesus the lies I said. I told Jesus the immoral thoughts I had. I told Jesus the curse words. I decided two things. I'm not going to hide anything from Jesus. You know something? You don't need to hide anything from Jesus because you're not hiding anything from Jesus. Yeah. And I decided I'm not going to make any excuses. Now listen to this. Do you realize that you can come to Jesus Christ and you don't need to give him an excuse for anything you've ever done in your life? In fact, if you give him an excuse, you're complicating it. You're complicated. Don't complicate it. We make it complicated. It's not complicated. I finished praying that prayer. I opened up my eyes, and in a billionth of a second, immediately, I knew that Jesus Christ completely transformed me on the inside. I had a dirty, filthy mouth, and instantly he cleaned it and changed it. I'm going to tell you, I was shocked I stopped cursing. I was shocked. And I remember a few moments later that I couldn't form a curse word with my lips if I wanted to. I had a dirty, filthy mind, and instantly he cleaned it and changed it. And I couldn't wait to wake up the next morning, and the first thing I did is I read more about Jesus Christ. I prayed to Jesus Christ, and I couldn't wait to get to Juilliard, and I told every Jewish friend that I met the Messiah, and his name is Yeshua HaMashiach, Jesus the Christ. I played over almost 3,200 concerts. That's a lot of concerts. That's a lot of sweat. And I can tell you that all of my concerts are nothing. You know how much nothing is? Nothing compared to having Jesus Christ. The greatest thing I ever did in my life, the most important thing I ever did in my life, was to give my life to Jesus Christ. Music's not the most important thing in my life, my friend, because Jesus Christ is the most important thing, because he is the only person that can transform your heart, period. Your wife can't change you. Your husband can't change you. Your parents can't change you. Your children can't change you. The church can't change you. The government can't change you. Can I tell you something? You cannot change you. You know who the hardest person to live with is? Yourself. But this is a miracle. Listen, being cured from cancer is tremendous. It's like a miracle. But you want to tell you the real miracle in this world? The miracle in this world is that Jesus Christ actually transformed the human heart. That is absolutely mind-boggling to me. It's mind-boggling. You know I was Jewish? I was born Jewish. Think of it. That's the only reason I was Jewish. If I was born in Egypt, I would be a Muslim. If I was born in India, where I've done concerts, I'd be a Hindu. If I was born in Thailand, where I've done concerts, I'd be a Buddhist. It's not a religion, my friend. It's a person, the central person of human history. Every time you write 2021, you're acknowledging Jesus Christ, the central person of human history. This gift to the whole world, to 7.5 billion people. In fact, can I tell you something on the side? You know what's the first thing you see when you walk into a synagogue? The first thing you see, an Orthodox synagogue, conservative synagogue, Reformed synagogue, there's all these different branches. Everybody has the same thing, the 10 Commandments. The law of God, the law given to Moses. That's the first thing you see. You know what's the first thing you see when you walk into a church? Look. You know what I call it? Forgiveness. Forgiveness. And there's a lot of forgiveness up there. You know why? Because I need a lot of forgiveness right here. Forgiveness. And every time you see a cross on the church, someone's wearing it. Every time you walk in this building and you see it, God's telling you, I've made a way to forgive you. I invite you to let me forgive you. I really would like to forgive you. Can you imagine the first thing in a synagogue? The law. The first thing in a church. Come and be forgiven. Salvation is not what you will ever do for Jesus Christ. Salvation is everything that Jesus Christ has already done for you. Nothing in my hands I bring. Don't bring your 3,200 concerts, Sam. Don't bring it. Nothing in my hands I bring. Simply to the cross I cling. And I play the piano for Jesus Christ. He gave me the ears to hear the music, the fingers to play the music, the mind to learn the music, the heart to love the music. You know that Jesus has never missed one of my concerts. I know it sounds very cute, but it's very real. And every time I give a concert in a church, a concert hall in Europe, university, college, or with an orchestra, he's in the front row in the middle. And every time I sit down to play, he always does the same thing to me. He says, Sam, I'm really looking forward to hearing you play for me tonight. My friend, if I could look into your eyes, I would tell you with every fiber of my being, it is worth living for Jesus Christ. Listen, my friend, he's not a joke. He's not a curse word. He's not hocus pocus. He's not magic. He's not even a nice Christmas story. He is the life and the light of the world. Don't let anything become an excuse to keep you from the amazing life there is in Jesus Christ. Let me repeat that again. Don't let anything become an excuse. I was an Orthodox Jew. I had a million excuses. Your past can disappoint you. Churches can disappoint you. Christian, they're not worth it. He's worth it. And you can say like I did. Tell Jesus your name. My name is, and Jesus, I want you to take over my life. And he will. And I want you to forgive me. And he will. And I want you to be with me. And he will. And I want you to guide me. And he will. And you do that, my friend, you'll experience the salvation of your soul. Music gives me a lot of happiness, but not one note of music will ever change me. I'll play 40,000 notes tonight in this concert. 40,000 notes. Not one note will change me. Jesus changed me and transformed me and gave me life. Praise God for him. It is worth living for him and serving him.
Amen.
The last piece, we're done here in 5 minutes.